Je suis pas tout seul à être tout seul. Ça fait déjà ça de moins dans la tête.
I'm going to put subtitles on. Let's go back.
Je suis pas tout seul à être tout seul. Ça fait déjà ça de moins dans la tête. Et si je comptais combien on est? Beaucoup. Tout ce à quoi j'ai déjà pensé. Dire que plein d'autres y ont déjà pensé. Mais malgré tout, je me sens tout seul. Du coup, j'ai parfois eu des pensées suicidaires, j'en suis peu fier. On croit parfois que c'est la seule manière de les faire taire. Ces pensées qui nous font vivre un enfer. Ces pensées qui me font vivre un enfer. Est-ce qu'il y a que moi?
Well, okay, let's just pause it there and take stock. So this is a very personal and obviously vulnerable song, you know, talking about loneliness and talking about how common that is, how feeling this way has led him to consider ending it as a way out. And it feels quite personal, doesn't it? It feels like he's, you know, there's parts where he's talking directly into the camera. It's like he's talking directly to you. It feels very intimate and personal.
Ils me font vivre un enfer. Ces pensées qui me font vivre un enfer. Est-ce qu'il y a que moi qui ai la télé et la chaîne culpabilité? Mais faut bien se changer les idées. Pas trop quand même, sinon ça repart vite dans la tête. Et c'est trop tard pour que ça s'arrête. C'est là que j'aimerais tout oublier. Du coup, j'ai parfois eu des pensées suicidaires et j'en suis peu fier. On croit parfois que c'est la seule manière de les faire taire. Ces pensées qui me font vivre un enfer. Ces pensées qui me font vivre un enfer.
You see these bits here, that to me is anguish. I think that's the word, anguish. It's distress. It's not sadness, it's not frustration, it's relentless distress. You might not see it on the outside of people, like this is being portrayed, but I can only guess that, and this is what people have reported to me in my practice, that this is what it feels like on the inside. All of the time, you know, just constantly.
Tu sais, j'ai mûrement réfléchi et je sais vraiment pas quoi faire de toi. Justement, réfléchir, c'est bien le problème avec toi. Tu sais, j'ai mûrement réfléchi et je sais vraiment pas quoi faire de toi. Justement, réfléchir, c'est bien le problème avec toi.
So even here, it looks like he's trying to fight his own mind. But that's impossible. You know, your mind is there with you all of the time. And you really, have very little control over what it presents you with. It's always there with us. You can't get away from it without turning to things like alcohol or drugs or other psychoactive substances. Look at how that loop starts again. It started zoomed into his eye, continued to kind of zoom out or pan out for the video, and then it ends back in the eye again. It's that loop. So let's take a closer look at what he's saying. I'm not going to read out all of the lyrics line by line. I'm going to see if I can get an overview of what he's saying. So this first verse, he is acknowledging that he's feeling lonely and that there's lots of other people feeling lonely, but it doesn't help him knowing that other people feel that way. And this line here that says, everything I have been thinking about, I can't tell if that includes ending it. And he also saying that he knows that lots of other people have those thoughts and that doesn't help him, or if the thoughts are generally around kind of loneliness. And this is making me think, this is making me reflect a bit, which is the sign of a powerful track. Quite often when I'm exploring these types of thoughts with people that I work with, and we talk about kind of that they do come up for other people, they usually seem to take some comfort from that. They take some comfort by having an understanding of why they are having those thoughts, so having an understanding of the function of them. And interestingly, he talks about loneliness here. And there is something called the Joiner's model of suicide. And within that model, there is a component or a concept, I guess, called thwarted belongingness. And what this kind of means is that there is a lack of social connectedness. So the need to belong has been thwarted. And that is a very reliable predictor of these kind of thoughts. But this is making me rethink how helpful that conversation is. But I guess you're going to have to excuse me to a certain extent here, because this is me thinking out loud as I consider this. This is literally my thinking process in action that you're watching here, because it's a reaction. And I guess we're not just saying that other people experience these thoughts. It's about the whole context, understanding the reason those thoughts might be happening, not just the fact that they do happen and they happen to other humans as well. And that sits with me okay, I think. It's about establishing the whole context, the whole person's situation, and then understanding why those thoughts might be happening, and that it's not an unusual process. It's not an unusual cognitive or thinking process to happen. Then we move on to the chorus, and he says he's not proud of having these thoughts. And again, I think this feeds into what I was saying earlier. And in my experience, it's usual for people to feel a lot of shame for thinking this way. And I think earlier I said, it looked really personal because he's looking directly into the camera. I'm pretty sure I remember that when he was talking about shame or not being proud, he was kind of looking down, even turned away from the camera. It shows how powerful that is. Because what happens is shame leads to an avoidance of seeking help. That is the behavioural response to shame. You don't bring it up with other people. You try to avoid it as much as you can because it's painful, but it's that kind of pain on the inside. You can't get away from it. And he says these thoughts are putting him through hell, hence a l'enfer. I know I can't do accents very well. L'enfer meaning hell. And he says sometimes you would feel it. Sometimes you'd feel it would be the only way to silence them. And again, this speaks to another kind of understanding and conceptual model by a chap called Baumeister. And it's called something like the escape model. I don't think that's quite it. I can't quite recall it, but it's to do with escape. And it essentially says that the pain and the distress and the thoughts are just continuously increasing no matter what you try and do about it. No matter all of the things that you try to do to get them to stop, they're still there. And in fact, they're increasing and they're causing more distress. And it feels like the only way to stop this kind of flow of thoughts and this flow of conscious thoughts, and I said thoughts too many times there, is to stop consciousness altogether. So that's the escape strategy from this pain and the distress. So psychologically and conceptually, this all makes sense. And then he speaks to the guilt trip show. And I mentioned shame earlier, which has a close connection with guilt. Often guilt is referred to as I have done a bad thing, but generally I'm a good person. And you have that function of guilt, which is, I've done something there that's not in line with my values. How do I prevent that from happening again in the future? Because it didn't feel great. But overall, I'm okay. Shame is I have done a bad thing and that makes me a bad person. So the whole concept of that person is defined by that bad thing. So it's like a global concept. So you can see how that can feed into these cognitive processes and that avoidance strategy of bringing it up. And changing the channel could be trying to avoid those thoughts, trying to distract, trying to push them away. But we know that rebound is a thing. So they come back even stronger, which feeds into that escape model, that sense of hopelessness that it's never going to go away. And then we have the final verse. And I think he's talking to his own mind here. He's saying he doesn't know what to do. He's tried everything. And looking at this verse, it looks like it's kind of looping, it's ruminating, it's thinking over and over. I really don't know what to do with you. That's the issue. Let me think. Let me find a way out. I really don't know what to do with you. That's the issue. Let me think. Let me try something. I really don't know what to do with you. Just that looping. And of course, it's so great how they've done this. That ties in with the looping of the video, where it starts off with his eye, it zooms out as he talks. He starts saying, I don't know what to do with you, mind. He doesn't find an answer. And then at the end of the video, it's coming back out of his eye again. That whole process is just looped around. That's clever, man. And just while this is in my head, doesn't the French language sound beautiful here? Even in this painful, vulnerable song, there's a beauty to it. There's a beauty to his voice. There's a beauty to his articulation. Wow. I think that's it for me on this one. Someone recommended this in the comments. I apologize. I couldn't find the message again. But thank you for the recommendation. I loved it. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.